Welcome back for another deep dive. You know, I think all of us spend a lot of time thinking about relationships,
Oh, for sure.
and today, that's exactly what we're going to be looking at.
Right.
Not just the romantic kind, though.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about all the connections that make life richer.
Yeah, or maybe a little more complicated sometimes.
Complicated is a good word.
Yeah.
And to help us untangle things, we've got a really unique source today.
Definitely unique. We found this Reddit thread
Yeah.
where people are answering these super thought-provoking questions about their relationships.
It's raw, it's honest,
Yeah.
and sometimes surprisingly insightful.
Oh, yeah.
I gotta admit, I was hooked reading through these.
Oh, yeah.
And you know what's really interesting? One user actually decided to break up with their partner
What?
after answering these questions.
Really?
We'll get into their story a bit later, but
Okay.
I think it just goes to show how powerful honest reflection can be when it comes to our relationships.
Absolutely.
So, are you ready to jump into the first question?
Yeah, hit me with it.
All right. It's this. Would you be happy if someone said you were a lot like your partner?
Oh, wow.
It seems simple on the surface, right?
Yeah, but it's deceptively deep.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it really forces you to think about whether you actually admire the person you're with.
Right.
Like, do their good qualities, do they match up with the kind of person you want to be?
Yeah, it makes you think about who we're drawn to and why.
Right.
One user said they'd be thrilled
Yeah.
if they were like their partner because it would mean they were calm and collected, soft-spoken and divine, kind and understanding.
That's really interesting. It makes me think about those early stages of a relationship when, it's common to idealize our partners a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
We see their best qualities. And I think a lot of times those qualities reflect what we might be longing for in ourselves.
Right.
It's almost like they're holding up a mirror to our aspirations in a way.
So early on, that answer might be totally normal.
I think so, yeah.
But as the relationship goes on...
Well, as we get to know our partner better, warts and all, right?
Right.
That initial idealization, it tends to fade.
Yeah.
And hopefully it gets replaced by a deeper, more realistic kind of love.
Yeah.
A love that accepts the whole person, flaws and all.
What about the people who said they wouldn't be happy to be seen as similar to their partner?
Right?
There was one user who just flat out said, absolutely not.
Ooh, that's kind of a red flag.
Yeah.
I mean, it deserves some attention,
Mm-hmm.
It could signal that there are some deeper issues at play, like
Right.
misaligned values, a lack of respect, maybe even some resentment.
Yeah.
Maybe they just don't see their partner contributing positively to their life.
Right. Or maybe they're just not growing in the same direction.
Exactly.
I wonder, though, could it also just be a sign that the, quote-unquote honeymoon phase
Yeah.
is over
Right.
and they're just seeing their partner more realistically?
I think you're onto something.
Not necessarily bad, just different.
Relationships, they go through phases, and that initial infatuation can't last forever.
Right.
So the real key is whether that initial phase evolves into something deeper, a connection based on mutual respect and acceptance, even if you wouldn't want to be exactly like each other.
I think that's a great point.
Yeah.
Let's move on to the next question.
Okay.
And I have a feeling this one's going to resonate with a lot of listeners.
All right.
Are you truly fulfilled or just less lonely?
Whoa.
That's a powerful one.
It really cuts right to the core of why we're in relationships in the first place.
Exactly.
I mean, we're social creatures, we're programmed to seek connection. But you know what? There's a huge difference between settling for someone just to avoid being alone
Right.
and actually being with someone who truly lights you up.
Yeah, there's one user in the thread who said they weren't just dating to see how things went.
Yeah.
They said they wanted a life with their partner.
Wow.
Shared dreams, goals, that sense of building something together.
That's a powerful indicator of fulfillment, right? It's about so much more than just companionship.
Yeah.
It's about shared purpose, growing as individuals and as a couple.
Right.
You inspire each other, you challenge each other in positive ways,
Yeah.
and you create a life that's richer because you're in it together.
So different from the user who just simply admitted to being less lonely.
It is, and I think it's important to acknowledge that some people are okay with that.
Right.
They prioritize companionship over maybe that intense connection.
Right.
And, that's fine. But I think it's crucial to be honest with ourselves about what we truly desire from our relationships.
Yeah.
Are we settling for less? Or are we actively pursuing the kind of connection that brings genuine joy and meaning?
That's a great question for all of us to be asking.
It is.
Speaking of pursuing connection, the next question tackles how we show up in our relationships.
Okay.
Are you able to be unapologetically yourself, or do you feel the need to show up differently to please your partner?
Ooh, that's a good one.
I'm curious, from a psychological perspective,
Yeah.
how important is it to be authentic in our relationships?
Well, I think it's foundational.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, think of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right?
Yeah,
Belonging is right up there.
it is.
But that true sense of belonging, it can't happen if we're constantly hiding parts of ourselves.
Right.
Trying to mold ourselves into someone we're not is exhausting. And honestly, it prevents genuine intimacy.
There was one user in the thread who talked about being accepted for their, quote, silly behaviors, things that their partner initially disapproved of.
Oh, interesting.
They said, over time, their partner came to embrace those quirks.
That's a perfect example of what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
It requires vulnerability, right? From the person who's being themselves.
Right.
But it also takes openness from the partner to accept them.
Yeah.
It's not about changing for each other.
Uh-huh.
It's about making space for each other's genuine selves.
That's a really nice way to put it.
Thanks.
On the flip side, we have the person in the thread who admitted to feeling the need to change themselves for their partner.
Okay.
What's the danger there?
I mean, aside from the emotional toll it takes to constantly pretend to be someone you're not,
Yeah.
it creates a really shaky foundation for the relationship.
Right.
It can lead to resentment, feeling unseen, and ultimately, it just erodes trust.
I'm sensing a theme here.
Yeah,
Honesty, both with ourselves and our partners, seems so key.
totally.
Which brings us to question number 4. And this one is juicy.
Okay, let's hear it.
Are you in love with who they are, NW, or their potential?
Oh, that's a good one. The danger of falling in love with potential.
It's so easy to do, especially early on in a relationship.
Oh, absolutely.
We see who they could be, the best version of themselves.
Yeah, we project all of our hopes and dreams onto the other person.
And sometimes I think we miss who they actually are in the present moment.
Yeah, like we're in love with the fantasy,
Right.
not the real person standing in front of us.
Exactly. There was one user who was adamant about loving their partner exactly as they were, imperfections and all.
That's healthy.
Right.
Yeah, it suggests that they're grounded in reality. They're not trying to change their partner. They're accepting them for who they truly are.
Yeah.
And, that doesn't mean they can't grow together,
Right.
but the foundation is solid.
Yeah, contrast that with the user who gushed about their partner's potential.
Right.
They saw all the amazing things their partner could be, all the ways they could improve.
And that's where things get tricky because it puts a lot of pressure on the partner
Right.
to conform to an ideal that they may not even share.
Exactly.
It can create a dynamic where one person is constantly trying to fix or improve the other.
Yeah, that never ends well.
No, it doesn't.
It's like they were in love with the idea of their partner, not the actual person.
Precisely.
The last question really got me thinking.
Okay, what is it?
Would you want your child to date someone like your partner? That's powerful.
It really cuts through all the superficial stuff, forces us to assess our partner's character.
Right.
I mean, would we want our child to experience the same joys, challenges, and, potential heartbreaks that come with being with this person?
Yeah.
It's a gut check about whether we genuinely respect and admire who they are at their core.
One user in the thread shared this incredibly moving story
Okay.
about how their partner had been their rock during a really tough time.
Oh, wow.
They answered with a resounding yes,
Yeah.
saying they'd be thrilled if their child found someone as kind and supportive.
That speaks volumes. It suggests that they see their partner as a role model,
Right.
someone with integrity and empathy. It's the kind of answer that makes you believe in true love.
And then there was the user who just wasn't sure.
That hesitation is telling.
It suggests doubt, uncertainty, maybe even a lack of trust.
Yeah, there might be some underlying issues in the relationship that need to be addressed before they can confidently say yes.
Which brings us back to that user who decided to end their relationship after pondering these questions.
Right.
Let's take a look at their answers and see what red flags they might have revealed to themselves.
Okay, so their first answer
Yes.
to the question, would you be happy if someone said you were a lot like your partner? They said, absolutely not.
Yeah, ouch.
It's pretty clear.
Yeah, it is.
And while there's nothing wrong with having, different personalities,
Right.
this answer suggests a lack of, fundamental respect or admiration for their partner.
And that lack of admiration seems to carry through to their answer about fulfillment versus loneliness.
Right.
They just said less lonely.
It paints a picture of a relationship built on convenience rather than genuine connection.
Yeah.
Maybe they were afraid of being alone, or maybe they just hadn't taken the time to really think about what they wanted from a partner.
It's interesting, though, because when asked if they could be themselves in the relationship, they said yes. They said they felt comfortable being authentic.
Okay, so that's where things get a little more complicated.
Right.
On the surface, it sounds healthy, but then we get to their answer about being in love with their partner's potential,
Uh-huh.
and it all starts to make sense.
Right. They admitted to being more focused on who their partner could be, not who they actually were.
Exactly, and that's a classic recipe for dissatisfaction.
Yeah.
When we're fixated on potential,
Yeah.
we're not seeing our partner for who they are in the present moment.
Right.
We're essentially trying to fit them into a mold that might not even be right for them.
It sets everyone up for failure.
Absolutely.
The partner feels pressured to change, and the person who's focused on potential, they'll likely always be disappointed.
Yeah, because no one can live up to an idealized fantasy.
It's like they were in love with the idea of their partner, not the actual person.
Precisely. And that brings us to that final question.
Right.
About whether they'd want their child to date someone like your partner.
Uh-huh. And they said,
Not sure.
wow.
That hesitation, it's pretty telling.
I mean, if you can't confidently say you want your child to be with someone like your partner,
Right.
what does that say about the relationship?
It suggests some serious doubts about their partner's character.
Yeah.
Or the health of the relationship in general.
Right.
Maybe there are trust issues, communication problems, or even just fundamental differences in values.
So looking at all of this users' answers as a whole,
Yeah.
it seems like they were in a relationship that just lacked admiration,
Yeah.
shared values, and genuine acceptance.
Right.
No wonder they decided to break up.
It's a powerful reminder that sometimes, self-reflection can be painful, but it can also be incredibly liberating.
Absolutely.
By honestly answering these questions, this person realized they weren't in the right relationship. And while breakups are never easy,
Yeah.
choosing to walk away from something that's not fulfilling, it's an act of courage
Yeah.
and self-respect.
It takes a lot of strength to admit that something isn't working.
It does.
And I think it's important to remember that these questions, they are meant to be relationship deal breakers for everyone.
Right.
They're tools for personal reflection,
Exactly.
prompts to help us examine our own relationships
Uh-huh.
and identify areas where we might need to make adjustments
Yeah.
or have some honest conversations with our partners.
You got it.
So I hope our listeners are taking notes.
Me too. I encourage everyone to consider these questions in the context of their own relationships.
Yeah.
Whether they're romantic, platonic, or even familial.
Don't be afraid to be brutally honest with yourself.
Honesty is key. Because through that honest reflection, we gain deeper self-awareness.
Right.
We understand our needs better.
Yeah.
And ultimately, I think we can create more fulfilling relationships.
And these questions, they're not about judging yourself or your partner.
Exactly.
Right. It's about fostering growth,
Yeah.
both individually and as a couple.
Mm-hmm.
It's about ensuring that you and the people you care about are truly thriving in your connections.
Well said.
Now, even if you answered all of these questions with a resounding yes, it's important to remember that relationships evolve over time.
Oh, for sure.
Right. Our needs change, circumstances shift, and we're constantly growing as individuals.
What might have been a yes today could become a maybe down the road.
Right.
That's why it's crucial to make these questions a regular check-in for your relationships.
Think of it like going to the dentist.
Okay.
You wouldn't wait till you had a major problem to get a checkup.
Yeah, exactly. Just like those regular dental checkups help prevent cavities and gum disease, consistent self-reflection and open communication can help prevent resentment, misunderstandings, and even heartbreak in our relationships.
And who wants to deal with any of that?
Yeah, no one.
So as we wrap things up, I want to leave our listeners with this final thought.
Okay, I'm listening. It's like a relationship tune-up.
Ooh, I like that. Just like our cars need regular maintenance to, run smoothly, our relationships also benefit from a little tune-up every now and then.
And sometimes A tune-up might reveal that, you need a bigger repair.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe it's time to have some of those tough conversations,
Mm,
set some new boundaries, or even seek out professional guidance.
right, like a therapist or counselor.
Exactly.
It's not always easy to, face those challenges head on.
No, it's not, but ignoring the warning signs,
Yeah,
that just makes things worse in the long run.
right.
I mean, think about it.
Yeah.
You wouldn't keep driving a car with a flat tire and just hope it'll fix itself, right?
Yeah, probably not the best idea.
No.
So what are some practical ways that our listeners can, incorporate these relationship checkups into their lives?
Well, it doesn't have to be like a formal sit-down interrogation with your partner. It
Yeah.
could be as simple as just reflecting on these questions during your commute,
Mm-hmm.
maybe journaling about your feelings, or having an open and honest conversation over dinner.
The key is to make it a regular practice.
Exactly. Don't wait for a crisis to hit before you start paying attention to the health of your relationships.
Right.
Just like we schedule those regular doctor's appointments,
Mm-hmm.
we can schedule regular relationship checkups with ourselves and our partners.
So it's about being proactive rather than reactive.
Precisely. And remember, these checkups, they're not about finding fault or placing blame.
No.
They're about creating a space for open communication,
Yeah.
understanding, and growth.
Well said. So as we wrap up this deep dive into relationships, I want to leave our listeners with this final thought.
Okay, I'm listening.
The most fulfilling relationships,
Uh-huh.
they're the ones that are built on this foundation of mutual respect,
Yes.
honesty,
Yes.
and a willingness to evolve together.
Beautifully said.
And remember, you have the power to create the kind of relationships you desire
That's right.
by investing the time and effort into nurturing your connections. You can experience the joy, the support, and the love that strong relationships bring to your life.
Absolutely.
Until next time, keep diving deep.